Hey, what's up, Internet? I'm Troy to the Max Extreme.
And I'm Ghost Hunter Dave.
And this is IMPERIUS REX. Cue the theme song. What's up? This is IMPERIUS REX, a show where we tell you everything you want to know but you didn't know you wanted to know about comic books.
That was a slurred tagline, but I'll take it.
I feel like I nailed it.
It was alright.
Anyway.
7 out of 10.
That's passing.
Absolutely.
Anyway, me and Dave are a huge fan of comic books, and we've read a slew of them.
Whole slew.
Oh man, some people would say too much. Some people would say not enough.
Most would say too much.
And today's show is going to be, you know what? It's going to be a free-for-all.
Free-for-all?
Yes. Because, you know what?
What?
Comics are all-encompassing.
That's absolutely correct.
It's all around us.
Yes.
We've got TV. We've got movies. We've got print.
The medium is growing. It's expanding.
It's amazing.
It's
quite a time to be alive, if I could steal your line.
Please do. I've been waiting for this moment for so long.
And we've got things such as Batman v Superman coming out. We got Avengers 3 Part 2, whatever, coming out in the near future.
They're calling it Captain America Civil War.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Right now, comic book movies are big. Which in turn makes comic books big.
Yeah.
Which in turn makes all of our interests suddenly less
relevant.
Terrible. Yes.
Yeah. How long do you think this is going to last?
I don't know. Like 5 years ago, I would say 5 years.
Yeah.
But it seems like we're still
still going, right?
Right in the middle of it.
Like Steven Spielberg had a quote long ago. Well, not long ago, Jesus Christ. When he made E.T., he said comic book movies are going to last not that long. But he had a quote like a couple months ago that like they're going to go the way of the Western.
Yeah.
And I want to say I agree with him. But like I think at least movies have made...
You need to start again there?
Yeah. I believe
One more time.
Comic book... Steven... Here we go.
Don't back up further. It's not going to help us.
Comic book movies have made quite a stride from like just an origin story. Like you have Winter Soldier that like is like a spy thriller, and you have Ant-Man, which is like a heist movie, and you have whatever Batman v Superman wants to do.
As long as it comes out, I'm not going to complain about whatever it wants to be.
But it's crossing a lot more genres than just being superhero-centric, you know? And while I do think, like, it might be a fad for right now, I feel like with the expansion of all this stuff, it is going to expand to a little bit longer of a time being relevant. The comic book movies, anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like Steven Spielberg should shut the fuck up.
Hey, come on, he made Schindler's List.
And he also made whatever...
The Terminal.
No, not that. The one with...
Warhorse.
The
Close Encounters.
The one with...
Jaws. Duel. Indiana Jones.
The one with Tom Hanks in it recently.
The Terminal.
Not that one. The one...
Bridge of Spies.
That's the one.
That's it.
I almost said boat movie, and that wasn't it.
Captain Phillips?
We did it. I don't think that was him, though.
No,
was it?
he didn't make that one.
I didn't mean Captain Phillips. I meant Bridge of Spies.
Alright, did you see it?
Nope.
Me neither.
I heard it was actually pretty good.
I heard it wasn't very good.
Well, agree to disagree.
Apparently we're at a standstill.
It doesn't matter. We're going to move on. But what do you think about Steven Spielberg's stance on that?
I think it's kind of, it's coming from a guy that is, a little out of the know, like, God, I don't want to say Steven Spielberg is kind of like representing the old guard, but, he made Tintin, and no one gave a shit.
Yeah, I heard that was okay, though. But I didn't see it.
No one did. That's the thing. This is kind of what's popular right now, Like, his stuff had its time, and now this is kind of popular. And and I'm saying this with the utmost respect. Like,
Yeah.
I love Steven Spielberg, but that quote, whether it's taken out of context or whatever, it just kind of comes off as sounding like someone that doesn't quite get it.
Yeah.
And that's a little, like, kind of upset that his stuff isn't doing as well as comic book
Avengers
movies.
Yeah, whatever.
You know, like, he's referring to it as like a flavor of the month, when in fact, like, comic books have been around longer than he has been around.
Yeah.
And, like, the public is realizing, like, hey, this is a big thing. This is a bankable industry. Hopefully it doesn't go away, you know? Like, I mean, we could get burned out. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we've already seen it in just the comic books, like, themselves. Like, in the 90s, like, a huge bubble burst.
Yeah.
But that was for different reasons. But it's, like, the same stuff. It's oversaturation.
yeah, but so far they've been handling it pretty well. You know, Marvel is on their game. DC might get a second movie out of the gates one of these days. And then we got stuff like Deadpool that comes along and kind of skews the comic book movie formula and presents it in a new light, and everybody just stands up and applauds it.
Yeah.
And, you know, probably copies it to a ridiculous extent.
And for not the right reasons, yeah.
Yeah, but, like, it shows that there's still, you know, there's still original material to be made in that medium.
I mean, there's decades worth of material that are just still not even used for stuff that it still could be fresh, you know?
Yeah, we really just kind of scratched the surface, especially in Marvel's ball pen. Like, they've really only handled stuff in the last decade.
Yeah.
With Civil War, Winter Soldier, you know, all that, all their, like, main Avengers plot lines right now. Avengers is pulled very closely from the Ultimate story.
Yeah.
Like, they're handling very relevant, like, very current storylines.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if they're going to dig back into the, you know, the annals of the Marvel Comics database. But, I mean, there's a lot of material to pull from.
Yeah. I mean, all their origin stories are going to be pulled back from whenever they're pulled from and kind of modernized in a little bit. But, yeah, I agree with you. Like, and going back to, like, the Ultimate Universe, a ton of what the Avengers use right now is pulled from the the Ultimate Avengers, like, stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, I don't know if you listen to any other, like, podcasts about, like, comic book stuff or not, but, like, a lot of people shit on the Ultimate Universe. And a ton of that stuff is, like, what's popular right now and is making millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah. The Ultimates is kind of what got me back into comic books.
Me too.
Because it came along when I was in the perfect age to just soak it up. Mm-hmm. And, like, I knew of these characters from cartoons and whatever from my youth.
Yeah.
But I didn't ever, like, read their adventures in like, an ongoing monthly series. Yeah. So this came out with familiar characters in a contemporary setting. And it was, like, the perfect jumping on point. And they treated it very seriously.
Yeah.
They had a mature take on it. And it was presented in, like, a realistic setting where, like, what would happen if superheroes existed today in the modern world that we live in.
Yeah.
And they also kept it in a very close-knit universe.
Yeah.
Where there wasn't decades of continuity to account for. It was like, you know, you want to read Spider-Man. It started at issue 1, and we're in issue 50 now. So, like, there's not a whole lot to catch up to. You can jump back. It's a lot to read, but it's possible.
It's like 6 trades.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Get through it in, like, a week.
Yeah. So, like, you could just jump in right there. You didn't have all this past continuity to worry about, and you had everything you needed. They were building another universe, like, from the ground up. And it was really fun. I enjoyed the Ultimate Universe a lot. I'm kind of saddened that it, you know, just fell apart there. Yeah. And it seemed like Marvel kind of lost faith in it altogether.
Yeah.
And maybe it was like the writers or the editorial. They didn't quite know what to do with it. But for a while, it was like their best-selling book. Yeah. And it was what kind of got them back on the map. And it's absolutely responsible for where they are in, like, the cinematic universe.
Oh, 100%. And, like... But, like, that was a weird time for Marvel, too, because you look at, like, what they were doing in the 616 universe, and, like, the Avengers title was... Like, it wasn't a title that everybody read. Like, no. Avengers was... Like, people look on it now, like, Avengers is huge, but, like, before New Avengers came out and before Avengers Disassembled, like, it wasn't a title that everybody read at all. Like, it had weird characters like Jack of Hearts and, like, it doesn't, like, just a bunch of bullshit characters. Anyway, the title wasn't readable, what I'm saying. And then Avengers Disassembled came out and pretty much just, like, did a clean slate and just, like, I don't want to use this shit. It's going to be just off the grid for a while. And then Bendis started over with the New Avengers, which started with, like, Captain America, Iron Man, and introduced characters like Spider-Man, Wolverine. But, like, that's what started, like, the 616 universe to being, like, in the popular mainstream. On the other hand, the Ultimate Comics have been already, like, busy doing gangbusters for, like, a little bit. Like, for 1 or 2 years already. And they were, at one time, more popular than the already huge universe that they've started since the 60s.
Yeah. We should do an Ultimates Ultimates episode sometime.
Yeah, we should, because it's super interesting.
Yeah, and they did, like, a really, you know, like, you could look at the Ultimates universe as, like, the cinematic take on the Marvel universe.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Like, if you were to take the Marvel universe, it's been around for 70 years or so, and made a movie of it, made several movies of it, this is what it would look like.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't feel the need to just keep characters coming back and going on and on and on. Like, they meet a villain, they defeat him, sometimes they died, they moved on, they have plenty to choose from.
Yeah.
You know, they could take risks, they could kill people off, they could have them stay dead.
Yeah.
They could, you know, do whatever they wanted. Like, it was a free-for-all. Hey, coincidence? I think not. But it gave them a lot of opportunities to just go wild. And that's, you know, that's what was missing in comic books. They were very much like status quo. Like, let's just keep it what it is.
Yeah.
We've got our reader buy-in there. They're going to buy it every month. Just business as usual. But this is kind of what shook it up and opened the door for a lot of new readers, myself included, to get back into the, you know, the comic book scene, which just led to a horrible downfall of my own personal finances.
Of your checkbook, yes. But that's like, that point in time was exactly the right point for me to jump into comics. Like, I've already liked them previously, but I was like, I don't really know, like, a good time to jump in or whatever. And then, boom, the Ultimate Universe happened, and, like, in the 616 universe, like, New Avengers is coming out, which is, like, their flagship title at that point in time. And I'm like, awesome. And that's when I jumped in and I got into it really hard. But moving on to DC, like, they tried to start, like, an all-star line. And they did really good with, like, All-Star Superman. Yeah. And at first, like, I thought that was going to be, like, their ultimate line, you know? They did All-Star Superman with Grant Morrison and Frank Whiteley doing All-Star Superman, obviously. And then they also had All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder with Frank Miller and Jim Lee doing the art. And that met with very mixed reviews. Yeah. And I felt like that really killed the All-Star line. Because I don't know what they were really going for with the All-Star line. Rather than, like, this is, like, the quintessential version of this character.
Yeah. Well, like, Superman they nailed.
Yeah.
Batman left a little to be desired by some audiences, but, you know, it was a take on Batman.
Yeah, but look at, like, what DC was probably looking at. Like, they had Frank Miller, the writer. He made the Dark Knight Returns. Boom, game-changing. Year one, boom, game-changing. Like, let's bring him back for another, like, huge event that, like, Frank Miller, like, made Batman relevant for a huge new audience in the 80s.
Time and time again.
Yeah. And, like, where can he go wrong?
Well, we found
This is the book. And so, like, it not only... I think it even cut the title short. Like, did they ever finish it?
No, it's unfinished. It's left hanging right now.
Yeah. Like, I know they have a trade out of it and everything, and we'll do a review on it later, but...
I'd really like to see it wrap up, too.
Yeah, I would.
Like, it's ridiculous, but I love it. Like, I would love to see how it wraps up.
Like, I've only read chunks of it, and I know, like, the gist of the story or whatever, but, like, I can't stress enough that, like, I guarantee you DC was like, what are you doing? Like, we wanted a lot out of this, and you failed completely.
But then they gave him Dark Knight 3.
I only think it was because of its name.
Maybe. Well, now is the time, if you're going to do it.
And other rebirths, like Image, like, in the last 10 years, have had a huge, like, swoon of other titles coming out. Like, they had a huge spur in the 90s where, like, they were the king shit of comics or whatever. And then, like, the comic bubble burst, and they kind of went under the radar. Kind of. They had Spawn, they had Savage Dragon, they have whatever Blood title that was coming out or whatever.
A lot of blood.
Yeah. But, like, and they still kept in business. But, like, in about 2005-ish, they had, like, a rebirth almost of just create our own titles, just, like, do whatever you want. And even in the last 5 years, since, like, 2010, there's been more of those coming out. And, like, they've been just gold. Because even, like, Scott Snyder of Batman fame, like, is doing other Image titles on the side. And
Image has taken up a lot of real estate on my shelf space. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll definitely do, like, some Image-heavy episodes, because I've got a lot of material. And their price point is amazing, too.
Oh,
if you're like a trade paperback buyer, they put them out, the first volume they put out for $10. So I just, like, I go nuts. If it's something I'm even halfway interested in, I just, like, all right,
get it.
Buy it. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they've got a lot. They've got some really great, like, it's a very indie-looking publisher, too. Like, the artwork, everything. You look at it, it doesn't look like DC or Marvel.
Yeah.
It looks like Image.
Yeah.
Like, you can have a lineup of art, you can pick out the Image books. And it's really good art, but it's not, like, super dynamic or heroic.
It's not a house style.
It's all very unique.
Yeah. Yeah. And Image now is so much more varied than it was when it debuted in the 90s, too. Because 90s, it was like the 90s fare, like, you can probably guess. I was like, super pouchy, super bloody, super pointy, whatever. But, like, now it's, like, all over the place on the good side. And it's, like, I have more Image books filling my bookshelf as well.
Yeah. And a lot of big-name authors, too.
Oh,
Not just, like, these... Image was originally kind of founded as an artist-centric book.
Yeah.
And now they're getting people like Scott Snyder, Jonathan Hickman, Brian K. Vaughan...
Yeah.
Warren Ellis, just big names in the industry that just, they want to just tell a unique story without being tied to any, like, pre-established character.
And they get to own their stuff, too. Like, if they do it at Marvel or DC, like, it's theirs. Another big creator that's coming up in the last probably 5 years, like, at least big, is Valiant Comics. And we'll do another episode on them, but, like, Valiant it's not huge, but they're doing pretty great for where they started out as. Like, they were a company in the 90s that kind of branched off, like, kind of like Image. And they weren't as big, but they had their own characters that still had, like, a little bit of a cult following. And then in the 90s, late 90s, they were bought by, like, Acclaim, like the video game company. And they
really?
Yeah. And then they just went tits up. Like, they just went under completely. And then only recently, all their assets were up for auction. And this guy was like, yeah, I'll buy them. And it's the guy who owns Valiant right now. And has totally turned it around. And then now it is almost, I'm not going to say it's like an Image company. It's like another DC Marvel company that, like, has no restraints and can do whatever they want because they're continuity free.
Right.
And they can start at zero. And they have their own characters that some of them were created back in the 90s, but they took a refreshing turn on them. Like Exo Man-O-War and Bloodshot, for example. But they also have other characters like Archer and Armstrong and Quantum and Woody and give me another one. Doesn't matter. But
I almost had it.
But they're doing a huge thing right now. And, like, I'm not going to say, like, they're, like, the fourth biggest publisher, because I think Dark Horse is in there. But they're
up there.
They're getting up there, and getting
get a
up there
lot
at
of
a rapid
accolade
pace. Yeah.
from any awards for best independent publisher or even best publisher. Like a lot of goes to Valiant.
Yeah, a lot of big artists and writers are going to Valiant because they just have like a free reign to do whatever they want. And they're for characters that aren't necessarily known, but they're pretty cool characters.
Well, like you said, it's free reign. Like, here's some characters, but you can do whatever you want with them.
Yeah. And it's cool because I've read interviews and seen interviews from the guy. I'm sorry, but the name escapes me right now. I think his first name is Dinesh, but I can't remember his last name. But he's like, in some titles, yeah, we already have it done, and it's drawn and ready to go, but we're ready to drop it at a certain point in time when other titles coincide with it. And, like, they have the timing to just do whatever they want because they're going for the trade. You know? That's what everyone's going for right now. Even though it comes out issue to issue, like, they can drop a whole storyline whenever they want. And a cool feature, like, at the end of some of the trades, they show, like, a timeline of, like, you can read Volume 1, Volume 2, and then that trade ties in with this crossover event. And, like, it can go into this and this. If you want supplemental material, it goes to this title. And it does it at the very end of the book. And I'm like, this is what every trade paperback needs.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing.
What do you think? Has this gone anywhere?
I feel like this is a really great episode.
Okay. All right. Good.
So that was our episode about what's going on in the comic book industry and what's going on in the movies, TV, and whatever other publishers, Marvel, DC, and whoever else. So comment below, let us know what you think of what's going on in the comic book industry and what would you like to see or maybe what you would change. I'm Tor to the Max Extreme.
Ghost Hunter Dave.
And you've just been watching IMPERIUS REX. Join us next week when we talk about whatever. So we'll see you later and have a good day.